Second time around.
I mean, we have to
It really makes sense.
bust it open?
Oh, you're doing it, or else we're gonna bust your whole scheme wide open.
Sure busted him wide open.
Busted. The case just got busted wide open.
Open! Break yourself, fool! You broke it wide open, Dad.
I'm gonna bust both of your heads wide open.
Busted.
He's the guy who tipped me off the Pepe Sonia.
Yeah, it's totally wide open.
All right, open wide.
Say what again?
Bust this thing wide open.
Shut the fuck up. I know that was you. I ain't even gotta look. I should send your ass back to Crenshaw Pete with his hot ass coat hangers, bitch. Would you like that?
Oh man, I don't know. It gets me every time.
It never gets old.
I know I don't listen to it every day, but it gets me every time. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open
Hey, yo!
podcast. We back.
Back in it.
Jack Smacks.
Jack Smacks.
You remember Smack Jacks?
I never ate them.
You never ate Smack Jacks?
I don't think I've ever tried them. Were they called Smack Jacks?
Smack Jacks. Sugar Smacks?
Not just Smacks?
They could have been Sugar Smacks, but those I think the Sugar Smacks were like the off-brand version.
Sugar Smacks.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, do I ever?
The little brown ones. They look like little rice that were just open up.
Yes, that's what they looked like.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever tried them.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Good for you.
I liked boring cereal growing up.
No. I thought you were a cereal connoisseur.
I liked Frosted Flakes and Special K.
Okay.
I would
That's
water down.
That's That's like what my dad ate
Right?
when I was a kid.
I would water down my Frosted Flakes, and my mom would buy a box of Frosted Flakes and a box of Corn Flakes.
Wait, I'm sorry. Bring that back. You watered down.
Not literally with like water, but like the Frosted Flakes were too sweet. So I would put Corn Flakes in my Frosted Flakes, even out the playing field
Okay.
with the banana.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
That's some boring cereal choice.
It's boring cereal, but it's delicious.
Yeah, okay. I'll take your word for it.
You heard it here first. Busted Wide Open Podcast.
Well, it's pretty interesting to see how you now eat cereal because it's the complete opposite of that.
Is it the opposite?
Yeah, you don't eat cereal like that. You look at what we got. Oh no, I guess you got some healthy cereal up there.
I got a box of like it's got dried strawberry in it, and
Yeah.
it's like a Special K though.
Okay.
It's a Special K.
Yeah.
I love Special K.
I got blueberries going right now.
Boob, I saw those.
Yeah.
Did you say you liked them?
Spooky. I liked them, but more for nostalgia reasons than anything. I've never had them before, so I got nothing to go off of.
Are they old?
They taste like blueberry Captain Crunch balls. You know what I'm talking about?
Blueberry. Okay.
You know, in
Yeah.
the Crunch
Oh, yeah.
berries?
Yeah, for sure.
They
Yeah.
all have
Best part.
distinctive tastes. They all got
Yeah.
you got the strawberry one, you got the blueberry one, and the other ones. Who knows?
Those aren't chocolate?
No. I
Really?
thought that's Count Chocula.
Ah.
Yeah, blueberry, it's a dark blueberry crunch with
wow, total mind blow.
So it tastes like Captain Crunch mixed with a little bit of Leprechaun Lucky Charms in there because they got the little marshmallows. It's not bad. It's not
Okay.
bad. You can
All
take it. You can leave it. You can do
take it or
whatever you
leave it,
want with
huh?
it. You can put it on the table.
But it's spooky, so
Put some milk in it. You know, whatever you want.
what kind of milk you put in your cereal, man?
I could go either way.
Can you?
I went from I want to go to raw milk. Have you ever heard of this?
Raw milk, fresh out the teat?
Fresh out the teat. They sell it. It's illegal in most states.
Of course.
Yeah, you can't buy it in most states. But it's raw milk. It's unpasteurized. So
Ah.
it doesn't go through all the druggy processes.
Unpasteurized meaning like it wasn't blessed.
Yes.
It's just like fresh out the
Yeah.
teat. Okay,
It
cool.
wasn't blessed by a minister.
There was no minister or rabbi in there, you know. Okay,
Right,
cool.
right.
Touching my milk. Okay,
Yeah.
I support that. Where do they sell that? Where do you get this?
You can get it at, Sprouts or
Sprouts.
Trader Joe's, that kind of stuff. If
Typical.
there's only a few like distributors, as you can imagine, because they're low level farms that are selling it. But they are kind of like drug dealers in the sense that it's illegal to sell it, and then they got their clientele that just comes back steadily. Because there's a lot of people that think they're healthy benefits from it.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So they have like natural properties, but I've also heard that we shouldn't be drinking milk as humans anyways.
I've heard
So
that.
I've heard that. I
for-
don't really
for
know.
A few years now too, right?
I don't really know who's right. I really don't know who's right. Did we introduce ourselves already?
No, we didn't.
Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast. It's your buddies, your pals, your boys. Hello, my name's Tommy O'Neill.
I'm Brian Cintron.
Yeah,
milk drinker.
And if you're listening to this, well, thank you for listening to this. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being a part of the Be Woke family.
Yes, we do. And let us know what cereal you like.
Yeah,
and we'll
for
throw
sure.
some raw milk. We'll throw some milk of our own in there, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. That's
Speaking of illegal milk,
that's a little disgusting. I gotta be honest.
depends
with
who
you.
you're asking.
Yeah, okay.
our listeners know.
Frankly, I'm a little appalled.
Come on, man. They
They
want it.
If you guys are listening and you're more of a YouTube kind of person, well, we're gonna start filming these and put these up on YouTube.
Lucky
so
you, man.
check out the comment section in the SoundCloud, and you'll be able to find a link to the YouTube channel. We're going to kind of combine everything and make it easy for everybody to find the same thing on one platform. We release videos for sketches and stuff like that. I have stand-up videos that I release, and it's just kind of chaotic having all this stuff all over the place. So we're going to put it all under one brand, one name. So if you follow one thing, that's cool. You can just subscribe to it and look at the titles, and it'll tell you what you want to watch. And if you don't want to watch it,
Titles will let you know.
Don't watch it. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
If you're not a King Gizzard fan, don't listen to GIZZVERSE one. You know,
Even though if you're not a King Gizzard fan, brother, you better.
no, I'm okay with fans that aren't that. That's an interesting little niche within a niche. You know.
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
I learn more and more.
Yeah.
I learn more and more.
Well, if you are interested in listening to King Gizzard, you know what podcast to listen to. The GIZZVERSE podcast.
We're in your mind.
This isn't the GIZZVERSE podcast.
Not at all. Not today.
This is the Busted Wide Open podcast.
Don't get me started on King Gizzard. You want to get me started on that, then no
I
problem.
don't. That's
but
why I wanted to change the subject
cool,
immediately.
cool. Fine,
okay?
because
Yeah.
you know, I get hot quick, man.
So before we jumped in and you told me anything about your week, I wanted to show you a quick video.
Drop it like it's hot, man.
If you're watching this, you're going to be able to see the video playing up on your screen. If you're listening, we'll describe it as best possible. But basically, it's a video of some new technology by Boston Dynamics.
And those boys put it down.
Yeah, Boston Dynamics is if you guys don't know, is a technology company in where? Boston. Duh.
What?
And they basically make robots for, in my opinion, the government. So there's the thing called the DARPA games every year where robots meet together and they do challenges for, programming and design and stuff like that, and they have to meet certain criteria, blah, 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 they get scored. And DARPA is a sect of the government that will purchase public stuff, ideas, and technology to incorporate it in government use. So
not terrifying at all.
No, I don't think so, especially when it's inverse of humans dying. I'd rather have robots doing stuff that...
Yeah.
So it's basically a commercial. The thing that I'm showing Brian is a commercial of their thing that they're now selling to the public, their new robot, it's called Spot. If you guys don't know, it's a little dog kind of thing. It's a four-legged little creature that can do a bunch of stuff.
It's really cool. It's like yellow, kind of resembles Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Transformer vibe.
He's got a cool look to him. But I think the yellow thing is deliberate because the commercial is really selling to construction workers and the various items that if you're working, you can put stuff on him. He can transfer items to another place. I don't know.
Very neat looking, by the way.
It is. I'm kind of confused on how useful he would be in the format of a construction, but
I'm not 100% sure. They're kind of running through, but they're putting him in positions, like in places where he would be utilized. I'm just not sure what he's doing in these places yet.
Right. In real life scenarios.
Right.
But it is interesting to see the technology, and now it's public. Now it's anybody, and I don't think construction workers are buying. I think nerds are going to buy this and play with it.
Absolutely,
like it's going to be fun to own, more like a novelty item than anything else.
It's awesome. That thing is sweet looking.
A very expensive novelty item.
Do you know how much they're going for?
I have no idea. This is just the launch. It's like when the PlayStation announces, like when they just show it but no price.
2024.
Right.
You're like, what?
You find out the price when you go to
Christmas,
the store, basically. You go to Walmart, and that's where you find out.
Oh, 100 more. Okay. I feel like it goes it's almost like priced by the number of it. Like PS3, if it was $300, PS4 is $400. So I feel like I'm expecting PS5 to be $500.
Yeah.
Accurate? Does that sound about right?
Well, it's interesting that you're asking those questions because I kind of have a little bit of insight on that.
Oh.
I've been obsessed with kind of gaming stuff lately in terms of the history of it. I've always loved games, but
of course.
Now video games there's history behind it. It's not it's not just new. When we were kids, it was so brand new. It wasn't a history thing about it.
We knew Atari. Okay, Atari was around. Like, okay, yeah, and it was like boing.
You knew about that when you were a kid? I didn't know that until I was like 13, 14. And I guess that's still a kid, but I separate kid from teenager.
Right.
So kid, teenager, adult. Probably some stuff in between there, but whatever.
I knew of it from my dad because
your dad told you about it.
He loves the cutting edge. Like he wants the thing when it comes out immediately.
Your dad was in Puerto Rico, so he knew about the Atari in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he thought it was just so like
that's interesting.
This is pretty cool. It's getting better. It's getting better. You know.
Right.
Dad style.
And did he tell you anything else about it?
I just knew about, is it Pong? Is that what it's called? The boing, boing? Where they bounce off the wall. Like, that's what he's like, I really came a long way from that.
Your
refer
dad-
to like Super Mario and
Your
stuff.
dad would tell you that.
Yes.
Do you think your dad bought those, your early game systems because of his experience with Atari?
I think it was a little living the vicarious thing a little bit. Yeah. Again, if it's new technology, my pops wanted to see it. He wanted to at least have it in the house and know that.
So
oh wow, that thing can do that. That's really cool.
It wasn't necessarily the gaming aspect to it. It was just like owning some dope ass
Cutting edge,
technology.
yeah,
This
yes.
is what being an American's about.
Bingo bango. Yeah.
I got you. Okay, that's not a bad thing at all. I think that's awesome,
Yeah.
and I knew that about your dad already.
Right.
But it's
and I reaped the benefits tremendously for many years.
yeah.
Like,
He wanted you to be souped up in some dope stuff
for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. My household had a bunch of games growing up, a bunch of different.
Dude, 3 boys running around.
Well, including Jeff, there was
for
there was
real.
4 boys growing up, and that led to alternative gaming systems that were
Right.
playable by 4 people. So it's interesting. It's interesting.
I can imagine. As a parent, like, bro, if I had 3 boys and then like a stepchild,
Yeah.
I'd be throwing bread into video games. I'm like, yeah.
Keep 'em
play,
busy.
no
Keep 'em
problem,
busy
no
in front of
problem.
the game
Dude,
system.
You already know.
Not knowing, they had no idea, neither did we back then, to what it is today.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's how you can see that there's history behind it.
Yeah.
You can see the I mean, yeah, there was some competitive gaming back then where you could win a prize or you could be like earn the honor of being, the gaming master or whatever it might be. But nowadays, I mean, it's a career path.
It's really it is, right? That's becoming a thing. Like esports, that's a genuine thing nowadays, man. It's crazy, huh?
And not just esports, but also you have these independent guys, the guys who are on Twitch, who are on YouTube, that
Yeah.
are just providing content with a hint of, like, they're telling you what they're doing.
Right.
So it's like a little bit of a game guiding thing.
Which makes Twitch more understandable to me. Of the,
Right.
Like, okay, I'm really good at this game. Watch how I play and take my, and like jock my steez. At first, I was like, bro,
Yeah.
how are people spending hours and hours watching somebody else play a video game that they own? I didn't understand it. Now I'm like, okay, I see where that could be a thing. Still not the hours and hours personally, but rock and roll.
Yeah, it's also the commentary. They're being funny.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they have it on in the background and stuff
Right.
like that. Like a lot of people, like how you would watch a Seinfeld episode. You're not necessarily
Right.
solely invested into it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of there and you're listening to them and it's more like a podcast or something like that.
Right.
There's people
Cozy,
that
chilling.
even watching this on YouTube will step away from it and just kind of like listen to the vibe of what's going on and come back to it.
Better watch out for that because I'm only getting better looking, dude.
Oh,
I'm
it's
sitting
true,
here,
man.
I'm marinating in the seat a little bit. Like
Every 10 minutes, Brian takes off clothes
and
and he shows you a little skin, guys.
Yep,
So
I'm not wearing socks.
that's
my
really
friends,
incentive.
all right?
It's really incentive to watch this on YouTube.
Keep it hot.
So, seeing the transition of technology and like where it's going, robots, it really got me interested in. Well, honestly, stories started popping up on YouTube stuff that I was watching.
Okay.
Stories of like this about Nintendo, this about PlayStation, this about Sega.
I thought robots immediately. Like, robot kills 14 people in
Oh,
a
no,
factory
no, no,
fire.
no, no.
It's like,
Sorry.
what?
Sorry, I moved. I'm still on consoles, which is what this podcast is about. Which is
tune.
what I'm sure you guys can tell by the title already. It's why I wanted to kind of investigate my favorite gaming system. And there's so much the Sony PlayStation, which I have personally. I prefer it over all gaming systems and
Ever
formats.
created?
Yeah, it's so much more than just a console. There's
Right.
and it's the only one I would say other than Nintendo, and even Nintendo is arguable now, that ties the timeline of gaming perfectly.
Yeah, they do a very good job with that. Yeah.
They touch all the consoles in a certain way. Each
Yeah.
one of them has a tie to Sony at some point. And I know that sounds bizarre, and I'm going to go through it all, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's kind of why I wanted to bust it open. I wanted
Let's
to
bust that shit open, dude.
I wanted to bring it.
I got passion for that bad boy, man.
Yeah, and normally I know we play a little BWO intro music in the background, but I thought just
Ooh, baby.
to keep it old school.
Throwback.
Okay,
Boy, oh boy. Hours.
so you owned a PlayStation?
Of course, man.
Yeah,
Quick.
you owned a PlayStation.
Gran Turismo changed my life. And it's funny that was like the game so hard, but that was around that time where like the car culture was really picking up. You know what I mean? And I feel like they almost kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's an interesting little thought. Like Gran Turismo was their game for a while, man. And you could.
Their first game was a racing game, and it wasn't Gran Turismo. It was like this kind of like floating, kind of like a jet thing. It was almost like pod racing. You're flying through.
Okay.
That was their first game, their first giant hit. It was in that movie Hackers. They played on like a giant thing. It has PlayStation written on the side. It was one of the very few and only PlayStation arcade games.
Whoa, trippy, huh? Yeah, wacky.
Racing was a big part of PlayStation.
It was hot at that time, so they had to kind of go hand in hand and
3-dimensional racing.
Right?
That's what changed the game.
That's such a game changer. It felt like, especially
3D.
young, like you're really navigating the car, and you can customize, particularly in that first Gran Turismo, you customize those cars to no end, bro. I had a Honda Prelude that I would put in my memory card, take it to my cousin's house with 1,400 horsepower. That like I put in hours into that car. You know what I mean? Like it was like it was fun. It was fun.
The cosmetics and building up of something revolutionary.
Totally
revolutionary.
That has adapted to every game. It feels like now.
Memory cards.
Yeah,
giant. Okay, so in the beginning of the real after the crash, I'm not going to go too far in. I'm going to focus on PlayStation as best that I can.
Cool.
Okay, bro? I'm not going to lead you down a bunch of different alleyways that are going to make you hate me.
You remember Sega Saturn?
I want you to like this. I want you to like this podcast, and I want you to be invested into it, and I don't want to bore you to death. So we all remember Nintendo growing up. It was the console, and for a lot of people, it's still the console.
Honestly, dude, it's still popping, yeah.
The second most selling console of all time is to this day the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, which lasted a time span, I'm not even kidding, of almost 20 fucking years.
Rock and roll.
Where they were selling the original Game Boy.
That's really good, man.
And that shit was still selling up until they upgraded it. And even past of them making the Game Boy Colors and all that other stuff, it was still selling. Didn't matter.
Yeah, and now it's selling as like, whoa, it's like a cool vintage thing or whatever. Yes.
And there's a lot of novelty items from 90s. You think there's a lot of gizmos and gadgets that come with video games now. The 90s were jam-packed of independent companies making the wackiest type of things. Right now on this YouTube video, you're seeing flashes of all the crazy
wackiness
gadgets that Sega, Nintendo, PlayStation 2 guilty of it. Just a bunch of stuff that was useless.
Right.
Needless to say, Nintendo dominated the market in the 90s. And it was almost unforeseeable that another company could even rival them other than Sega, and even Sega was a little wishy-washy.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Damn, but Sega was so popping back in that day.
It was popping.
It felt like cool kids.
The original 32-bit console, okay? Nintendo, the NES, the original Nintendo Entertainment System, that had 16 bits. So to go from being able to play 16 to 32 and then keep jumping from there, it was a big deal.
It's a big jump.
They were able to do stuff on the Sega Genesis that was, uncomprehendable to what you could do and comparable to Nintendo.
That X-Men game. And that's my first thought of Sega Genesis.
Started creating this vibe of you're either a Nintendo or you're with Sega. This whole unity thing with gaming culture that still lives today.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
So, back in the day, everybody kind of saw this thing coming, CDs. And this weird company, Sony, that had a bunch of money and they're an entertainment company.
Right.
So they were producing music, they were producing movies.
Yeah.
They knew what was going on with CDs. They knew that everything...
Sound equipment and shit, yeah.
Sound was their thing, okay? Yes. Sound technology was what they did well. Nintendo needed to take it up a notch. They needed to do something different from Sega that would set them apart. Sega notoriously had kind of shitty audio. Although the graphics were cool, their music sucked. And Nintendo had great music. And
that still lives to this day, man.
And they use that music in their games today. They use that same theme songs. And it's because it was beautifully orchestrated. The guys who were making the songs were great.
Yeah.
It's an all-encompassing thing, and they had better sound chips. They wanted to make it even better for the Super Nintendo. So they approached Sony, and Sony was kind of like, dude, nah, man, we're not really into that. That's the console. At that point, console wars, it had just crashed in the 80s. All like Atari, everything was kind of bad before Nintendo came around with the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Ba-boom.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like Atari crashed hardcore, and then to go from Nintendo, it was kind of popping again, but still, most companies were like hesitant to get involved with it.
I could imagine, dude, how much money has to be spent on technology and product? It's that's a hell of a gamble.
It is a gamble. You're 100% right on that. It's a big, big gamble as far as finances goes, because technology can't always keep up with cost effectiveness. It's a big
Right.
theme with them. So they got approached by Nintendo, and they're like, we want just your help to make a sound chip. We don't want you to be, making the whole console. We already have that
Right.
set up, but we need better sound. Is there any way to incorporate this? Well, everybody in the room was like, nah, man, we don't want to do that.
I'm into it, bro.
Except for this one dude, Ken Katuragi, okay?
Woo-wee!
Who is
Kenny Stacks.
Kenny Stacks, who is undoubtedly known, unquestionably, undisputedly, the father of the PlayStation.
What a great title to be referred to. That sounds amazing.
It really is.
That's
it really
fun.
is. Especially when he retires, he dips at a perfect time. So this guy takes Nintendo aside, and he's like, look, man, my daughter loves Nintendo. She plays it all the time. I know where the future's going, and it's in consoles. It's in entertainment consoles. But these things can be more. They can be bigger. They can be badder. Have you ever heard of these things called CDs? Which at the time,
Dude, no, bro.
Nintendo like, what are you talking about? Cartridges are our thing.
You blow into it and you fix it.
So if you guys don't know, which I know you know already, and I'm over-explaining something, the cartridges had a limited amount of space and memory that you could put on it, but Nintendo had a giant hold on the rights to cartridges. So
Smooth.
They paid 50 cents like on the dollar for these things, but they did. They're an independent company. So if you're an independent gaming company trying to make these, you're going to pay Nintendo most of your money on the back end. So really,
Right.
the only profitable game developers were within Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does it ever?
Okay, cool. So Ken was like, bro, CDs. Everything's moving to CDs. Sound is moving to CDs. Video's gonna move to CDs. And this is like right at the edge of DVDs. And Ken is like taking these guys aside and be like, this is what we need to do.
For real, though.
We need to create an add-on that is gonna be a CD kind of like combination thing for cartridges and CDs.
Right.
Because this is the move, okay? And Nintendo was like, yeah, okay. So you think that too. Good. Because we think the CD is the move, but we're a little worried about the money thing because right now we're making mad dough on these cartridges, bro. So what about these CD things? Because we know on the down low, you own the licensing rights for all CDs.
That's so crazy.
Think about that. When you buy a pack of CDRs, you're paying Sony a percentage of that. It doesn't matter what company you are.
Man.
They're getting money on the back end. They own the rights to CDs.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay?
That's very cool.
They might not have developed it, but they paid someone that did.
Right.
And then they own that. So, okay.
Cool.
So, they kind of have this, like, shake hand, weird, like, don't tell nobody type
Back alley
thing. Because
agreement.
Japanese work culture is not American work culture. In America, if you do something like go behind your boss's back and try to make a deal with another company, that's a big no-no. In
Yes.
Japanese culture. A
Yes.
big no-no. And frankly, they weren't happy about it. But the president, after speaking with Ken, was like, you know what? Okay, maybe we should do this. And Ken's like, okay, good, because I already developed the sound chip, and I went over your head and just did it already. So I'm so glad you're on board because, I don't know what I would have done. It would have been bad. So,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I don't
the
really-
president saved him from the rest of the CEOs in the company from being fired. So really interesting.
Smooth.
This dude's a cowboy, man.
Kenny Stacks,
engineer
baby.
Cowboy, bro. So he gives him the chip. They love it. Super Nintendo happens. It is awesome. And then they're like, okay, man, so what about this CD thing? What about adding a CD on top of the Super Nintendo? Like new games. It's this whole new thing, And basically, Nintendo's like, okay, that sounds good and all. We'll keep doing this. So go ahead and develop it, and we'll see where it goes. And they're like, yeah, okay, cool. So PlayStation starts developing, or Sony starts developing it under a different name. It's like PlayStation Music or Sony Music, which is technically like a different company.
Right.
And then they start making this little product, this little add-on for the Nintendo, not knowing that Nintendo is also meeting with Philips, the
Okay.
European company who is Sony's direct competitor.
Oh yeah, especially in those days, absolutely.
And they're making a deal with them like, look, man, we got Sony over there. Can you do it cheaper and we'll, make a deal with you? A CD add-on is what we're looking for. Is that possible? Can we do that? So PlayStation ends up making a deal with them for like 12,000 units, okay? They make these units, they go on the market, and they sell. There is a there's a Nintendo PlayStation console. It's called a Nintendo PlayStation. It's a little white thing, and it sits on top of a
awesome.
Super
I kinda want one
Nintendo.
of those, man.
It's amazing. It looks cool. The games that came out with it were sick.
There's 12,000 of those?
12,000 of those.
Whoa.
As you can imagine, it is super hard to get your hands on one of these bad
man.
boys. So
Like a little Tokyo, man. Find one of those guys.
after that release is kind of like a test in Japan. Sony goes public with this. They're like, yo,
bro.
we're partnering up with Nintendo, man. We're going to make the fucking Nintendo Sony PlayStation, dog, and it is going to be lit. And everyone's minds are blown. They're like, CD, what the hell is this?
Sega's over here with a finger up their ass. Like, what are we going to do?
I'll get into Sega and all that
How
stuff.
about a Dreamcast?
So literally within a week, some say the next day, Philips then announced that Nintendo is partnering with them to create the Philips Nintendo add-on. So it's not it's not the Nintendo Philips gaming system. It's the Philips add-on to the Nintendo. There's a distinct difference. It doesn't go coinciding. You have to buy it separate, adds onto it kind of thing. So those games, by the way, side note, are horrific.
Really?
Nintendo to this day denies that they even exist.
We don't know anything about it.
They're the worst Mario games of all time.
I want to see it so bad.
It's horrible, dude.
Oh, it sounds great.
It's horrible. And it's like a cartoon drawing. It's like it's not even like three-dimensional things, which is what Ken was saying. The creator of the PlayStation, that's what he was saying to Nintendo. It's like, dude, we can do three-dimensional shit. You don't even know what my guys down in the G section are working on right now, because those dudes are madmen, man.
We're working 19 hours a
They're
day, bro.
insane maniacs, and you have no idea what they got cooking, okay? And they went the complete opposite. And PlayStation, the president and the CEOs were all looking at Ken like, what the fuck, man?
Bro.
Yeah, and it fell on him, and the president, obviously, in Japanese culture, that kind of public embarrassment, it holds more clout.
It's not a good look.
It's not. And in American culture, well, it's not a good look, yeah, but intrapersonally, like where the company is, like they hold it as such more of a big deal than the American culture companies would.
Over here, like, any press is good press. You know what I mean? Like, that's good, bro. Like, let's bomb.
Right. And if you fail, you know that you can come back from it.
Right.
You know
we'll
what I mean?
get bailed out.
Yeah. The government will pay it off.
Dude.
It's a write-off.
It's a write-off for them. We're huge.
You don't even know what a write-off is, Steve Jobs.
But the government does.
They know. And they're the ones writing it off.
Yeah.
So, big embarrassment. Ken is talking to the president. Like, bro,
dude,
fuck these guys. Fuck them and their stupid Nintendo Mario snuffing dicks, okay?
A plumber? What is it?
We can make a better system. We can do it better than anybody has ever. Have you seen that Philips add-on? That thing was trash, okay?
Bro.
Those PlayStation add-ons, they sold out the yin-yang. Everybody wanted one, and the fact that they weren't available in anywhere else but Japan, people hated it.
I want one.
Hated it.
Today.
So, what happens? These dudes go all in. Sony's like, dude, you're right, Ken. We need to make this happen. And then Ken's like, good, man. So
I've already
I'm super glad you're in to do this, man, because I've had my guys down there in the G system. They're called the Sony System G department is what they're called.
Kenny Stacks and the G's, bro.
Yo, bro.
Yo.
This guy went down there, and they made this, like, the PlayStation, the basic rectangle look, all the things set up, all the these dudes were making three-dimensional shit out there for fun. These dudes do this shit for fun while they're not getting paid, and they have to hide it from their bosses.
God.
You know what I mean?
That's tight.
That's
like a passion project, though.
That's how the PlayStation was made, by being hidden from their bosses, because their bosses were like, dude, we're making so much money in the music industry right now. We're making so much money in Columbia Records because they bought Columbia and CBS. So they owned so much shit, and money was just coming in. So they were like, all right, man, well, let's stay after hours, turn off all the cameras, and we can make the PlayStation. And that's what they did. Then they convinced the president to back this whole thing up. And once he backed it up, then they went all in with it. Like, okay, we're going to do this.
Crash Bandicoot, I like that little guy. He's adorable.
Crash Bandicoot, Tomb Raider.
Lara Croft, nice.
They stole Mega Man. They got all the amount.
Mega Man, yeah.
Here's the deal. I'm going to get into this in a second. Never mind. Side note. I'm going to side note that beast in a moment. So, visual sound chips, Ken is the man. This dude knows what he's doing 100%. Okay. Then I already told you about all that stuff. The big thing right now, when they release it, you mentioned the Sega Saturn. At that moment, there was something in this. When we were kids, there was like generations of gaming consoles coming out together. And it created this like gaming war thing that we talked about. Yeah. It was really like, when's Nintendo doing it? Okay, we got to do it by this time.
Right.
Forget about whether or not it's going to be done. We just got to do it by this time.
Nothing to do with it.
Right. Which is kind of shitty.
Getting it done.
You got to get the product right before you sell it to the folks.
You would hope.
Which is where these consoles started to fail.
Of course, yeah.
In order to mentally like think that they were keeping up, not looking at the Game Boy as a prime example, it's like that was the most basic setup. It's not that they needed to advance it because, dude, think about the competition for the Game Boy. Think about it. That Sega handheld thing, holy shit, how dope was that? That
Sega,
thing,
what was that called?
I don't know.
Sega, oh my God, what?
The little guy, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was like...
It lit up, it had colors.
That thing was beautiful, bro.
It even plugged into the wall. I know the battery thing was annoying. That was irritating.
That thing was great, though,
but,
man.
dude, they had the same games also that were available on Sega in the same quality.
It looked the same. It really looked the same.
Wasn't, and to think about that, the Game Boy, dude, I looked up all the money stuff, as you can imagine, in preparation for this podcast. Right. Smashed that thing apart, bro. Smashed. It's not even close. And the accessories that sold along with the Game Boy, oh my God, smashed the Sega. It's not even close.
That's always been part of Nintendo's culture is like, yes, the product, but the brand. Like, what is it? Like, how is it represented? And, dude, Nintendo has done a phenomenal job with that for years, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, and keeping it simple.
Yes, exactly.
Mastering a simple... one of their big MOs, or their big themes, or whatever you want to call it, their vision board slogans would say, master the simple. That's what they want.
It's good. It's a good move.
Master each thing simply, and then that's really what people want gaming-wise. You could see it in their controllers, in the advancements, and all the way down. It's definitely their theme. So, when the PlayStation launches, it is going up against the Sega Saturn, okay, which notoriously sold for a high price.
I wonder,
$399.
That's crazy.
$399 for the 90s, okay?
That's crazy.
$399. The PlayStation, there's this huge meeting, like, Sony's putting money about. Okay, so when gaming companies go global, in order to really make money, you have to have a Sony America and a Sony Japan.
Right.
And they control each one.
Right.
North America, such and such, South America, all that stuff. Sony America, doing this big, huge publicity thing. They're doing speeches. The guy gets up there, the big CEO is talking, and then the guy kind of like, the tech dude, goes up there and he just holds up a card and he reads $299 and then walks off stage.
Yeah.
The PlayStation is $100 less than Sega's Saturn that came out. Okay?
It's like Saturn rocking like 8 games or whatever. Like.
So that was the issue. Sega Saturn was notoriously difficult to program on. This is where PlayStation not only succeeded, but dominated.
Buried the competition.
Dominated. Okay? Nintendo didn't have the foresight to move to CDs at this point.
Right.
They didn't move to CDs until the GameCube. So the N64, which came out a year following, which was around the same price. It was like $350 to $400.
Right.
More expensive than the PlayStation. Still had the cartridge. Nintendo 64 still had the cartridge.
Yes. Yeah.
And they sold at that same time, which is mind-bending, the quality of graphics. So then you have a lot of these independent gaming companies and a lot of independent art companies that are trying to develop video games, and they are not getting help from gaming companies because the licensing fees that you would have to pay to Nintendo in order to develop a game in the first place, you don't make any fucking money at that point.
Right.
Same thing with Sega. They kind of got and they were doing cartridges for a long time. I think Sega Saturn even had cartridges, or did
That
they
was
have
disc.
CDs?
Yeah,
That had
was-
discs.
yeah.
Okay, you're right. Because they had the 3D Fighter stuff, okay, and that was a part of the Virtual Fighter was a part of their big thing, and that kind of freaked out PlayStation. That was a
Right.
little rattling the PlayStation. But then when you look at PlayStation's graphic designs and audio designs, you have to remember this company is an audio.
That's a big one. That
company,
really is a big one.
Okay, sound guys. To this day, the PlayStation is notably the best equivalent would be you know how people go and find that record player that's the dopest record player of all time?
Diamond Needle. Woo.
That is the CD player for that. People hunt down the PlayStation just to play CDs.
jam. No, that's
just
pretty
to
tight.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing to me. That's how good that is audio-wise. 2015, Marilyn Manson hunts down the original contact Sony for a stockpile of the original PlayStation discs to make his CDs on it.
What?
So that's how good these CDs were because
pretty tight.
Sony was making these CDs themselves and producing it.
Right.
Do you know how much they were charging?
Oh my God.
Do you know how much they were charging
No.
for gaming companies to make games under the under the Sony label?
How much?
Not to Marilyn Manson. I don't know that price. I'm just when PlayStation 1 came out, an independent gaming company only had to pay a licensing fee of $10.
Wow.
$10 to create a PlayStation game with the PlayStation logo on it. Send them that, and they will create a fucking game for you and distribute it under the PlayStation name.
Wow, that's interesting.
$10.
That's interesting.
That is foresight.
Totally.
They looked at it like the programmers are out there. We got to give it to them, man.
And it's going to be under our umbrella at the end of the day, and they're going to get better and better with time, make franchises be a huge fucking thing. Cool.
PlayStation saw that their money was not going to be made in video games, that their
Right.
money was going to be made in the technology that makes the video game possible.
Yeah, man.
And selling the products around it. They had that foresight. They're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna we have some in-house game developer guys,
Sure.
but dude, PlayStation.
Crash Bandicoot ain't gonna last forever, bro. Spyro was tight, but
I'll just list a couple that went from it. Okay, they got Mega Man. From Sega and Nintendo, they got Mega Man. That is huge.
Crazy, yeah.
They stopped producing with Sega at that point. They just went with PlayStation. That is a gigantic
move,
fucking
man.
character, man. Gigantic.
Yeah.
Eventually, the big one was the Final Fantasy franchise.
Woo.
That was notoriously Nintendo.
Yeah,
Solely
man.
Nintendo. They dropped that contract and went with PlayStation because it was so much easier to program on CDs.
I can imagine.
You didn't have a limited amount of memory that you had to
Right.
negotiate with, and also the graphics were just infinitely better.
Not even close.
Infinitely better.
That's always been the argument to me. It's like, really? Like,
Yeah.
huh?
Why wouldn't you want to? You're giving an artist because they don't give a shit about money as much as they care about the product. They're an artist,
Right.
so they want it to look as cool as they can possibly
Come on, dude,
make
yeah.
it. Yeah, and you got these weird little nerds that are inputting their name into
Dude.
into every little aspect of the game to.
And that means so much to that person.
It
you
means
know,
something
like-
to them.
Yeah,
They want to
yeah.
attach themselves to their art piece. Is
Right.
really what it is. And if you play video games, you know that each one is a work of art. Each one
Yes.
is. It might be a
Totally.
shitty piece of art,
But still, and man hours went into that thing like crazy, bro. It's not like, oh yeah,
Right.
we worked in a few hours and really pulled it out. Like, no, dude, it's a whole thing, man.
it is.
I never played Final Fantasy, got into it like that, but I could watch it and I could appreciate it. Like, dude, Final Fantasy VII changed the game, I feel like.
It did. And a lot of people, it brought in the 2D RPG, the two-dimensional role-playing game
Right.
aspect of it to it implemented all the perfect worlds. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a race car game. And it,
Yeah, oh, wow.
it wasn't Resident Evil.
is deep.
Which,
Yeah.
by the way, Resident Evil being the first real big thing that launched on it, Crash Bandicoot, yeah, you had Tomb Raider. Resident Evil was scary.
It was unusual.
It was hard to control, hard to
Right.
understand. It was about survival. It wasn't about just shoot 'em up, kill 'em up. It
Yeah.
was a strategic game that had to be played mindfully.
Right.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
completely different world from what we were used to from other games.
Yes. And then, I mean, Metal Gear. When did that, because that game blew my mind when I was young. I was like, this is confusing as shit, bro. I don't know what's going on here.
It is.
2-disc set.
It was spooky dust.
I don't get it, man. Gotta be a genius to figure this game out.
Honestly, the two big things before I move on. Obviously, it sold a bunch, and it smashed Nintendo 64, and it smashed the Sega Saturn.
Did it smash the N64?
Yep.
Because I knew a lot of homies had 64 too. Like,
Yep.
it was such a divide, man.
So these are numbers not in 1 year. Nintendo might have did better in 1 year.
Whenever GoldenEye came out.
Okay, so there's a lot of those in between years. PlayStation, I don't know them all, like where they all rank at, but I'm pretty sure the PlayStation 1 beat out the Nintendo 64.
Rock on. I believe it, man.
It didn't beat the Super Nintendo. It didn't beat the NES. So the original Nintendo and the original Super Nintendo are super high up there because the market was cornered. It only had a handful of options.
Right.
So, big thing that they did also with game designing, they sold a game design kit that could plug into a computer, and if you're at your house, you could make your own video game.
That's very cool.
And sit there and create it yourself, plugged into the PlayStation, and then play it on the PlayStation.
It's tight.
At-home game designing kits.
That's great for people motivated like that. Absolutely.
You know how much they were?
How much was it?
$200.
Huh.
That is dirt cheap if you want to get into that field.
Yeah, that's like a course.
And so most of these people they're not teaching this shit in college. So these dudes are doing it at home in their off time as a hobby, and they're becoming, a lot of these dudes end up becoming legends in the gaming producing industry. Or the game design industry. It's crazy.
And PlayStation knows that. That's just full circle, bro. Sell them the product. They're going to come and push the product to you, maybe change their game up. Like, yeah, man.
And you have to remember what time this was. This number's not super impressive, but it is. In the first 12 months, they sold over 800,000 units.
800,000 units
in the first 12 months. Okay? Big numbers for back then. For how small the gaming community was.
Yeah.
Big numbers back then, okay?
Damn.
Obviously, it gets insane later on, but big numbers back then. And that was just the first year that it was released. And you have to remember, PlayStation wasn't a name yet. So the fact that they came out the gate selling those types of numbers, it showed you the level of hype that was kind of behind this. And, and then they kept succeeding that hype. It was the first console that allowed you to play audio music in HD on the console.
That's really where the clout that I had going into PlayStation buying one, I remember it was Sony's name. Without Sony's name, it's a whole other thing maybe. But like, they were so, again, through my dad, they were so known for like their quality and audio and stuff like that. It's like, yo, you can, okay, it's from Sony. I can put trust in this.
And really what it is like technology meets art. That it's a technology company that has all these little weird departments, and Ken is just kind of bouncing around to all these departments like, hey, what are you guys up to? Hey, what are you guys up to? And he sees the advancements. He sees where it's going. Like, dude, these guys are insane, and we can put it all together and make this perfect computer, is how he looked at it. He looked at the future of these devices as being a computer, which leads us to the PS2, the PlayStation 2 launch, okay? Years later, the GameCube, the Dreamcast, and the Xbox came out along with it. Those are its rivals. To this day, the PlayStation 2 is the highest selling console of all time.
Really?
It beats the Game Boy, which is in second place.
Wow.
It is the greatest, notably the greatest console jump from being a first generation to second generation console ever in the history of consoles.
It was a hell of a jump, man.
It was a big jump. What they did from PS1 to PS2 is insane.
Yeah.
They sold, in total, up to date, over 157 million consoles. That is what I was saying.
Dude.
The numbers get crazy. The numbers get crazy after a while. This is the first.
Crazy.
This is the first console that had a DVD player and a CD player in it at once.
That was gigantic. That was so big. It cornered the market for DVD players almost. Of like, now those guys are obsolete, bro. It's like, okay, you could buy a DVD player, or why don't you just spend a few extra bucks and buy a PlayStation? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Get a home entertainment system.
Yes.
Which is really what they were after. So they corner the market, and also at the same time are able to increase the revenue in sales in DVDs, sales in CDs. By the way, guess what they own? CDs
Remember?
and DVDs.
Oh man,
How crazy is that?
It's
they're
genius.
They
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Ken walked around to all these departments and was like, "Where are we going?" And was able to piece it all together
little discs,
based
buddy.
on that. Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And CDs, DVDs is where
Games. Oh,
he
man.
saw it. He saw it going forward.
So of course you're gonna put a CD drive like in your system. Of course you're gonna play DVDs. That's what Christmas was.
Well-
PlayStation games and DVDs and CDs, bro.
Yes, and
Man.
that's why Nintendo didn't want to fuck with them. Because they knew that they were going to be doing this in the future, and they were looking at that deal like, this ain't right, man. This ain't right.
man.
We're going to eventually have to be paying you guys money to develop our games.
Right.
Let that fuck your mind up.
Yeah.
So, this is the first time that you see a dual console shock in the controller.
Oh yeah.
You have online play for the first time.
That's a whole
Huge.
Man, oh man, yeah.
And this thing doubled as a computer. It can plug into a monitor and actually set up as a
Yes.
computer. You could so you're talking about not buying a DVD player. Well, now you don't have to buy a computer.
Like what? Do what?
You
Huh?
can hook it all up, plug it into the internet, and run anything that you could want to run the same way you could a computer.
It's crazy. That is a hell of a jump from any other
Remember
system.
where we were at from PlayStation 1 to where
Yeah.
it is now. A
Yeah.
sound card and a 3D card.
Right.
From that to now playing online, doubles as a computer, and it undoubtedly has the largest, because of all the developing boom from PlayStation 1, the largest game catalog of any
Dude.
single console out there.
So many games, man. I remember
Amounting-
Blockbuster like, wow, okay.
Foreign games included, amounting to over 4,000 games.
It's awesome.
That is a lot of games. And back then, you didn't have to upload half the data into the system. You could just put the game
Bro,
on and let it play.
ready to rock.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Memory card, fam, and that was actually a big deal. Though. You remember that? That memory cards are really hard to come by?
Yes.
Okay, so that they had
the
this
memory
like
card.
weird little deal. Sony had this weird little deal with the cartridge company that had deals with other companies, and they butted heads, sued them for a little bit, and that's why that happened. It went away for a little bit, and then they got back control of it and monopolized
for a
the
little
shit out of
bit,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the look is really cool.
Yeah.
The jump in how I like the basic look of the PlayStation, but how
Yeah.
it went from being gray, kind of plain looking, it went to being like sleek,
Yes,
black, and
Yeah,
blue.
they did a good job with that.
That black and blue
Well,
combo
black- this is a
has
classic
has lived with PlayStation.
As it should. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. So
Yes.
the Ken Kataragi, he said his big thing was that it looks like the Earth in the middle of space. So the blue thing is supposed to symbolize Earth. Everything's a symbol with PlayStation. It is
course.
very
I know what they're doing over there.
honor driven. It's not they pour their souls into these games and they come out. That's why they put their names in them. They want to be lived. They want to live through these systems forever.
Right.
And if you pull up like even the basic design, if you like hack into the design of these, you'll see like a weird credits that tells you who the father of the PlayStation is, and
Rock and roll.
it's so amazing that they
Rock
do
and
that
roll.
kind of stuff. So PlayStation 2, it didn't stream the way that we stream videos today. However, in Brazil, Netflix did this tester where they teamed up with Sony, created this Netflix CD that would link up to the internet. You could put it in and then stream Netflix like we do today.
Right.
Have you heard about that?
I did not know the Brazil thing. I know like that disc idea.
Yeah.
But that's cool that it started in like a different market like that.
It is because every company you have to kind of test the ground to make sure it would work.
Yeah.
PlayStation 2 also had the first HD games, which was huge. They only had 4, but it was showing you where the PS3 was going to go.
You wait till PS3 drops, bro. We're gonna have to
Right.
do the doom.
Big kind of negative thing other than the memory card famine was the
Famine.
I don't know if you remember the disc read error.
Oh.
People put their PlayStations on the side and then it
Yes.
would like bounce and fuck up the eye.
Yes,
it would
dude.
so like
Disc read error.
it was a class action lawsuit and Sony had to reimburse people $25.
Was that a thing?
That's it though. It was like $25.
I need to get a hold of PlayStation, bro.
And they don't. Well, the issue is that it was way more money to fix, so they kind of screwed their customers on that one.
Yeah, right.
But the dismount on this whole thing, outside of this one dude in London who changed his name legally to PlayStation 2, and he wanted to see if he could legally marry his PlayStation 2.
Whoa.
Yeah, crazy. Outside of that big thing.
Can you blame him though?
The
It's a great
PlayStation 2,
system.
yeah, I know it is. It's a beautiful. It's just a tiny little port. I don't know if I could, you know what I'm saying? Like get sexually.
Figure it out, brother.
The PlayStation 2 had export restrictions on it, which is the first gaming console that ever had export restrictions because it was thought to be a too powerful supercomputer that could be used in war situations, which wasn't
Is
inaccurate.
that wrong, though? Like,
It's not
right?
inaccurate.
Like-
So Japan had restrictions based on the UN on selling PS2s to Korea, Iran, Libya, and Iraq. And Saddam Hussein had been rumored to start to weaponize PlayStation 2s in order to have like a giant supercomputer.
Right.
So he was using his guys to like link up a bunch of PlayStation 2s together. Which is insane.
So crazy.
It's insane. So that leads us to a couple years later, by a couple, I mean a lot years later,
Yeah.
to the PlayStation 3.
Boom.
The bigger jump. You're like, what? At this rate, what are they bringing to the table that is going to motivate you to spend that much money on a PlayStation?
That's always the mentality, right? Like, come on, it can't be much better than this, right?
Original PlayStation's $299. PlayStation 3's between $599 and $499. Originally, it was said to be $499. Then the prices jumped up to $599. It literally went up $100. Yeah, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
That is insane. I don't know how you pull that off as a company, but they did.
Tough, but they sure did.
Yeah, well, the launch was really tricky. That was kind of the big deal at the beginning because that's when Xbox was really then an established company within Microsoft that
Oh my God, Microsoft, bro.
it was succeeding. It was succeeding. The PlayStation 3 had a genuine rival. Nintendo at this point, GameCube, that was like a niche audience. And
youngins almost.
their response to the PlayStation 3, Nintendo's response to the PlayStation 3 was the Nintendo Wii, which was a children's game.
Yeah,
it was like
dude.
little kids and old people is who their target audience were.
100%. Cool little weird concept, but that's just not my gaming experience.
The PlayStation 3 and the Xbox One, this is where that or was this Xbox 360? I don't remember. But this is where the big
360.
360. This is where the big game war really started with them.
It really did.
And
you could see it on like a lower level through friend groups. I think that's always like the great social experiment of like, bro, I felt like at the 360 time, it felt almost 50-50.
Because of the online play.
And that
You were either playing with your friends on one or the other. And you can't
Right.
Before, when you were growing up, you go over your friend's house, you play his game.
No problem.
That stopped when you had your own dope-ass console that you could play anywhere
Yeah.
you want in the world. You just had to press online.
No, all right, let's ride.
Massively different.
Quite.
At the launch, months after, Ken Kataragi retires. Okay? At this point, the PS3 is not doing that well. It's kind of an awful launch. Although it is a dope, super computer, it just didn't take off the right way. They had some issues, okay? There was some bad press for it. People in Los Angeles, there was a couple people that got murdered trying to buy one. In the parking lot, they got robbed and stuff.
Get outta here,
and a lot of
man.
people were buying them and just reselling them online. And
True.
it was a real big bummer because Sony did something that nobody knew what they were doing at the time. This isn't unheard of in console wars, but this is something that people should keep in mind. Sony was paying $800 to $840 per console. They were selling them for $500 to $499, $599 to $499. They were losing almost $300 in profits per console. Per console.
That's insane.
They had the foresight to see that in one day, this technology will be cheaper to produce. Right now, it's not. We're on the cutting edge of technology,
Right.
but in order to outsell these other companies, we need to reduce the price.
Accurate. It is a much tougher sell. But yeah, Sony PlayStation 3, $999. Like, it's a toughie, man.
Well, not to get to the end too fast, but they lost over $4.7 billion That's a B, billion.
With a B.
$4.7 billion doing this,
Whoa.
trying to get people to stay with Sony. That's how much.
That's spooky. That's how companies end up going down. Like,
Well, that's how much
spooky.
they believed in this PlayStation
Which is
3.
dope.
That's how
That's
much they
great.
believed in it. And I mean, think about what it brought to the table. I mean,
It's a Blu-ray.
this is the big thing. Blu-ray. The edge of technology. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily what Blu-ray would do. It's the fact that now guys were developing video games on Blu-ray technology.
Yep,
These video games are now in Blu-ray. They're not just HD. They're that next level where they can store
next.
so much more memory on that.
Yeah.
And PlayStation 3 had digital downloads. You could download
right, yeah.
games and content on directly to your PlayStation. You
Whole nother
didn't
ballpark.
have to go to the store to buy the
CDs
game.
aren't so important anymore, huh?
Right. So they look at it like, well, again, that's notable. So they look at it like, okay, where is the next thing?
Yeah.
It's digital media. It's not.
Is it ever?
It's not CDs. It's digital media. Well, here's the good news. When you're buying a CD, it costs money to manufacture that CD and game. You have to put plastic in it and all that crap. Has to be a machine. You got to pay those people that work those machines, all that crap. When you are selling digital content, you're literally just paying whatever you have to pay to the guy that made the game.
Yeah.
Then you get the rest of the money as a company.
Smooth sailing.
You're selling it from your platform, the PlayStation Store, and you're raking in money that is not game related. They
Right.
had the foresight to see this. And they're not
That's a
the
good
ones
one.
developing these fucking games. They're just
Right.
selling
that's so
them
good.
off of their format.
Yeah.
You're paying PlayStation whatever you got to per game, and then that's it.
I wonder how much that percentage is.
So at first, $10. The licensing fee for PlayStation is $10.
Well, meaning, but like, what? So if you sell your game for $60, how much of that $60 revenue are you making as the game designer? You know what I mean? Like, how much are you playing? I wonder. I don't know.
$10 per game.
Oh, that's what it is.
It's
Okay.
$10
Oh,
per
well,
game.
shit, man.
You're paying a
that's
licensing
amazing.
fee of $10 every time you use them. It's $10. So like,
It's great.
if you say like, yeah, that's how licensing works. So like, if let's say if I used like a phrase or whatever that was. Someone would come in and be like, okay, now you have to pay them that every time you say that phrase.
Right.
That's how that would work. Same concept. Every time you're using a PlayStation logo, and they're the ones, that's where it gets all crazy, is that they were the ones manufacturing the CDs. So now
Yes.
they're not manufacturing the CDs in the same capacity as they once were.
Right.
So
That's hot.
It's really
That is hot.
interesting, this whole thing. So at this point, it's kind of shaky, the press that PlayStation 3 is getting, until the U.S. Air Force decides to publicly announce that they're currently using the combined forces of 1,760 PlayStation 3s, all connected, interconnected together, to build a supercomputer that was currently in charge of, like, the majority of the U.S. Air Force, like, running all of its operations.
Crazy.
All these PS3s plugged up in together in this giant, and there's a cool picture of it, this giant supercomputer thing. It's amazing. It's amazing that exists. It blew my mind.
Whoa.
Think about that.
You just think the government has like their own government supercomputer. Not that sounds like something you would make up. All right, dude. Well,
Right.
let's pretty good. Like 1,700 PS3s and see what we come up. Like that's madness.
It sounds make believe.
totally yeah.
But
It's crazy.
when you put all the things that we've been talking about together, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
These guys are on the cutting edge of technology, selling it for the cheapest possible amount that they can,
sign up our government, yeah, for
without
sure.
going bankrupt completely.
Right.
Luckily, Sony is a sustainable company on its own that it could take that kind of hit, fucking $4.7 billion hit, and still see like, okay, but yeah, we need to make PlayStations, because if we don't make PlayStations, what are we doing here? Like,
Yeah,
this
what is
the
gonna
fu-
happen?
We're
Yeah.
making so much money on the back end of these things, which
Right.
eventually they did make money on the back of end of that, and ended up evening all that out, and they crushed Xbox in the upcoming years. Not when it came out. Xbox was beating them for a while.
It was
for
hot,
a while
yeah.
they were beating them, and then the Xbox 360 eventually got smashed by the PlayStation 3. One cool thing that they did, another cool thing that they did, they had this program that you could sign up for on the PS3 that would allow you to donate your computing capacity. I don't know how this works exactly, so I'm just going to tell you what it is. But you could donate your you plug it into the internet, and as it's on and plugged in, this medical research company would tap into your computing of your PS3, and it would help to develop medical research for cancer. So, like, the PS3 implemented this. I'll tell you what it is. It's called Folding at Home is the name of the thing. And it computed over 100 million hours for developing resistance for cancer.
Wow,
for
that's-
people to not have cancer.
That is advanced, my man.
I've never even heard of that before.
Same.
Only in doing this research that I heard of that, and that's insane. That's
Crazy.
insane. Yeah,
Wacky.
hands down the cheapest Blu-ray player on the market. Originally, the original PS3 price. You could play the original PS3. Also, you could play the PlayStation 1 games and the PlayStation
right,
2
yeah.
games. Then they stopped. That was the big thing that brought the price down to start making them money. Was they took that chip. That thing was super, super fucking expensive. It was something that was lacing technology in or together, and it just wasn't good for them.
Oh.
So, they took it out, saved money, and obviously they went on to still be a great company today. They released the PlayStation 4, which is unarguably the greatest console of all time.
come on, man.
It
Thing's
brings so much
amazing.
to the table. It doesn't crash. Unfortunately, the PS3 did get hacked a few times. That was something that was big.
I do recall that, yeah.
It was very vulnerable. Now, not so much.
Dude, the PS4, man, what? And I feel like playing video games is a small part of what I do on that thing, man.
Well, the PlayStation 4 too has come up controversially. In you remember the attack in Paris, the terrorist attack in Paris? Well, it seemed like Sony was getting tagged in. There's no evidence to prove this. I'm just giving you a little bit of rumor sauce. Basically, the rumor on the street was that they were able to communicate without being caught through PlayStation's messaging thing because it was impossible to hack. So they developed their firewall so well that you can't get through it. So even the U.S. government and other countries can't get into your messaging system and figure it out. That's awesome. Sony's response was very Apple response. Our biggest priority is the privacy of our customers. That's how they said it. They're like,
Rock and
look,
roll.
man, what they do is what they do. But like, I mean, we're not. That's not what we're doing. We're not.
That's not what we're designing this thing for,
we're-
man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like, dude, this is a messaging system, but we have to defend our customers from getting hacked financially too.
Absolutely,
They
yeah.
have their financial information on there, so I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I'm sorry.
What is the percentage of PS4, PlayStation users that are doing that kind of stuff?
Using
compared
it to
the-
harm,
You know what I mean?
using it to
it's-
harm people and like gather and stuff like that.
Right.
So, yeah, man, that's pretty much the little history lesson on PlayStation. I felt.
And the history's still writing, bro.
Was it interesting as far as like information
Dude, I
goes?
love this shit, bro. Absolutely, man. This,
Yeah.
This is my life, brother.
I know, but I'm still a little worried about presenting the information because it can get boring talking about technology. You know?
You're asking the wrong dude, man. Not to me, because I'm still fascinated. This is a part of it. It's like, where would this go? Even though it's like the most interesting part to me was the financial leaps. Because sometimes, and I mean, it could even be a great product. You take those leaps, and sometimes you can't bounce back from them, man. So it's like, there would be something. VR, I think, is the next thing that's going to be that huge thing. But what will be that leap? Like, so how much are they going to sell the PS6 for? You know what I mean? Like, what will that crazy leap be? Will it doom them? Like, will other companies get back in the mix and get hotter? You are still dealing with Microsoft on the other side. Like, dude, come on, bro. That's an incredible company as well. So it's like, PS right now reigns supreme for how much longer? Like, that's what I'm curious about. My chips are all in on it, bro. I love their whole thing, but we'll see how it goes, man.
And the interesting part is that Xbox is kind of pulling a PlayStation in terms of their development and how they created
I can imagine.
and how they created the system. Basically, they outsourced to everybody. They're like, okay, guys, we need the best of this. So
Right.
then independent companies made it and then gave it to it. It's over like 1,400 or 1,200 companies that contributed to the development of the Xbox.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Rock on.
PlayStation-y as far as, like, that's what they did with their games. That's how they got
Yeah.
way past. But everything else, technology-wise, is developed in-house because they're leaders in that field. So
Yeah,
they
they
know what they're
should.
doing. So it's interesting that Sony's limited by their in-house technology, where Xbox isn't limited in that market.
Nah.
But is it limited? Is Sony better? Is Sony better than everything that everybody's got out there? Because they're in Japan. And there is a mentality that is different in Japan. There's an honor in what they're designing, and their artistry meets technology mentality is a perfect molding for what I think that company stands by.
I think so too. Yes.
I think in the future, money might be scarce, but that's only because they're giving the consumers the cheapest amount for the dopest
really
amount
is,
of
man.
technology.
It truly is.
I mean,
bro. Like, when you really think about
$400 for a PlayStation, $500 for a PlayStation. Come on.
How much is a laptop? Bro?
Come on,
like,
guys.
I'm not saying they're different functions, of course, but like
Not when you're looking at the PS4, which has streaming capabilities. People make money through Twitch. When you buy that, you're buying a system that can run your money, create money for you. What are we talking about here, guys?
Yeah, man.
You can watch YouTube on it. You can stream off it. You can watch DVDs on it. You could rent movies on it.
Right.
You could buy music on it. You could stream music on it. Anything you want can be done on the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
It is an amazing thing that you're right. The VR is the next move. The VR is where they're going to be selling that piece of technology for dirt cheap for what it costs them to make.
It's like, whoa.
And that's going to be trippy good. I keep saying it to people.
Good.
People are buying the Oculus. It's like, yeah, okay, Microsoft, it's not a coincidence that Sony is reluctant to release technology. They have a mentality to perfect before release.
I'm cool with that.
And they learned lessons because between the PS3 and the PS4, there was a 10-year break.
That's so impressive. Like,
very rare does that happen.
And people still out here with PS3s and stuff. Like,
people still playing it because it's a great console.
Do you plan, if you get a PS5, when you plan on getting a PS5, are you going to trade in your PS4?
Probably not. It depends on the deal. But GameStops are going away.
Yeah, dude, they're really struggling, man.
They're closing
a lot of stores,
and they're not. The trade-in thing is going out the window. So like, I probably keep it or sell it. I don't know if the trading thing is going to happen, but I'll probably end up keeping it for a little while because the first year of any release is rugged of technology. You want to give it a year. You want to give it a year. Let the bugs get worked out, and then when you buy it, sometimes the move is to wait for the second version of that console.
Right. The next Christmas.
Right.
When that comes out.
Right.
Yes.
Because they're in their little cubbies writing all the notes that everyone's sending them angrily over the email.
I think I've always done that, actually.
Yeah.
I've always gone like the year after.
Once I became a man, I did. When I was a kid, I'd let my dad take the price
we need
cut.
it now.
Dad, it's new. Please, please. You guys have a GameCube, PlayStation 2. Why do you need more stuff? Please.
We said please, man.
Please. Yeah, man. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I
did, my man.
I hope you guys enjoyed it out there. If you're listening this far in, go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Let us know which way you're enjoying listening to this. If you're at work, driving to work, at home, let us know. And if there's a topic you want us to discuss on the podcast, well, you already know what to do. Mention that in the comment section. You can also message us. That's always fun, too.
If you're listening on your Xbox, finish the episode and toss that thing out the window, get yourself a PlayStation.
Yeah, I have a promo code to ButcherBox to help you guys out. Recently started subscribing to them. They're dope. It's a free-range chicken, 100% no hormone added, no drug added or anything like that. If you click in the link in the section, on the comment section below, or not the comment section, the description of the podcast, you'll be able to get $30 off your first order. And also there's a lifetime thing for what is it? They're giving
2 pounds of ground beef.
2 pounds of ground beef for free for a lifetime that you have the subscription.
Bro,
that's pretty solid, right?
Let's eat.
That's not bad.
Get that. Invite us over for dinner. Let's party.
Yeah. If you guys are interested in supporting this podcast, you can go to the Patreon down below. Also, you can check out my website, TommyO'Neill.net, for any merch that you might be interested in purchasing. We got some T-shirts on there and some new stuff coming up as well. Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. We'll talk to you guys soon. My name's Tommy O'Neill.
I'm Brian Zindron.
Yeah. Peace, guys. Jamming.
Working hard or hardly working, boys?